The only reason she'd agreed to meet Mick was out of the vague hope that she could help him come to terms with his brother's death. But how could she deny him? And so, she let her mind go back. She was in the cocoon of her patrol vehicle's driver's seat, sipping from the thermos of coffee she'd brought from home, and listening to late-night radio as she cruised the streets of her sleepy little city. It had been a Thursday night, quiet. The ski hill still wasn't open this early in the season, so there weren't many tourists in town. When the call came over the radio, her adrenaline had kicked in, but only moderately. She'd been expecting to hand out a speeding ticket or maybe a DUI. She'd never guessed how serious it would turn out to be. It started with a call from dispatch, she told Mick. They got a complaint of someone driving a Land Rover erratically just west of town on the 93. So, I went to investigate.
You didn't know it was my brother?
Kelly waited while the server came with their coffees and treats. She adjusted the position of the mug and the plate, not sampling either. She noticed Mick wasn't paying any attention to his black coffee or muffin either. I didn't know it was Danny. When I came up from behind, he was driving 80 miles an hour and weaving. I hit the lights to pull him over, but he reacted by speeding up.
Did you too?
Kelly hesitated. She knew Mick was trying to figure out if she had provoked Danny into the accident by giving chase. Everything happened so fast at that point, I didn't have time to react. When Danny accelerated, he must have hit a patch of black ice at the same time. In one dreadful and fatal moment, the Land Rover had gone careening off the highway, full speed into the trunk of one of the ancient larch trees that lined that stretch of the road. Kelly wrapped her arms around her body, remembering the violent shakes that had overtaken her immediately after it happened. Somehow she'd forced her trembling fingers to call in the accident, then gathered the courage to step out into the dark, cold night and go check on the occupants of the vehicle, only to discover a single occupant, clearly dead. He went instantly. He didn't suffer. The picture was there, in her mind, something she'd likely never forget. The impossible angle of Danny's neck, the blood trickling from his mouth, the glazed look in his eyes. He looked, and the autopsy later confirmed, like his neck had broken. I forced open the door and checked his pulse to be sure, but he was gone.
Did you consider CPR?
His injuries were too massive. I'm sorry. And she was. Danny had been her age, and like her, he'd grown up in the small mountain city of Whitefish, Montana. As a kid, he'd been a bully. He'd even stolen her bicycle when she was 10 years old. As an adult, he'd lived up to his early potential by amassing a record of drug-related arrests and charges, and even spending some time in prison. He and Mick had the bad luck of growing up with a single mother who had serious problems with alcohol. But while Mick had risen above his circumstances, putting himself through college and avoiding legal problems of any kind, Danny had sunk lower. But Kelly had never considered him beyond hope.
My brother had some issues, and made some pretty stupid mistakes, Mick said. But he wasn't all bad. He was an amazing fly fisherman, and when he was sober, he was a good husband and father.
When he was sober was a pretty big caveat, but this wasn't the time to bring that up. How are Sharon and the kids doing? Mick frowned, the expression not diminishing his attractiveness one iota.
Not good. I'm worried about Sharon, whether she can cope without Danny. Like I said, he had his flaws, but he loved his children and he made sure they had the basics. Whereas Sharon...
Kelly was familiar with Sharon, too. Several years younger than her husband, she also had alcohol and drug issues. Just a few months ago, Kelly had been forced to contact Child Protective Services out of concern for the children. You think she's neglecting the children? Mick looked at her assessingly, as if deciding if she could be trusted with the truth. Then he nodded.
I've been over almost every day since Danny died. Half of the time she's wasted. If I didn't bring groceries, there wouldn't be enough food for Billy and Amanda. I'm doing all the laundry as well, and some cleaning, though it's hard to keep up with.
Kelly sucked in a breath. This sounded worse than she'd expected. Is Sharon abusive?
She doesn't hurt them. At least, I've never seen any signs of that. But she's neglectful, for sure.
Kelly's hopes for the small...